someone is walking away with a form and they didn't fill it up, get their contact information, get a phone number, so just to remind them. Yeah. And this is another way of engaging people. I was doing phone banking for, I can't remember when, for some election, and I talked to someone who we had common, she didn't know who I was, and she started telling me that we found out we knew each other, and she was not going to vote. So I was like, wait, what? And so we talked about her daughter, her husband, so we had 4 voters we got that day because we took a little time and trouble to engage with people and kind of probe a little bit, if they're willing to. Again, you have to be very, very sensitive about how the person is reacting to all this. If you see a flicker of doubt, you don't want to lose that, because sometimes people won't tell you. They'll just walk away and not vote for your candidate because you're putting a bad front. So you are actually representing your candidate or your party if you're a partisan voter registration person.
And don't be afraid to do nonpartisan if that's what you have to do. Certain events you're just going to have to go and do voter registration without any discussion of.
Yeah, but even in those situations, you can always underscore with
careful
slip of the tongue. You can always underscore the importance of voting and what rights come along with the voting, and immediately it puts you into framework of greater good and community, and then it tells what party you're for. So these are all subtle messages that you send without actually articulating things. So when they check off the box, a lot of times people are not sure which box to check off. If they're a new voter and know nothing, there's your chance to tell them, well, this party stands for this and this party stands for this, and you make your choice how you want to mark that box. So it's a lot of stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so, I like nonpartisan voting, but I don't want to register a Republican if I don't have to. So, I come from Houston, Texas, where we have a lot of Asian Americans who go to church. I would prefer not going to church and register people. I would rather go to a gay bar, but it turns out that most Asian Americans go to church.
Some of us go to gay bars too, though.
Go to church and gay bars, yes. Yeah. How do you engage people?
Right, should I?
Yes, you should.
Okay.
Because, first of all, if you're going to a church, again, you should use your judgment once you're there. If there are going to be people who are just immovable, like nothing is going to change them, walk away from that. You don't have to do anything. But if there is room for, you don't give the form first. In a place like that, you kind of gauge. So you talk to the pastor before going,
right.
So you get permission, and so immediately you're in. So if you're in, after the service is over, there's a time when you go in and you sit down and there's a community time. That's when you would do your engagement piece. So for you being in there, tells the congregation that you're okay, and especially if the pastor gives you a few minutes to talk to the entire congregation, which is what you angle for. Immediately there's a buy-in, so you're a safe bet. So then when you talk to people from that vantage point, they're more willing to listen to you. And then when they're willing to listen to you, you tell your story and say how being whatever party you are is good for you. And see if that resonates with them. And again, watch them and pick up.
And this is where knowing the laws in your state is important, right? So in Texas, for example, one thing that we do sometimes is we can't register people based on what they say they're going to vote for, what party. You have to register everybody. But there's no rule against having a sign on your voter registration desk that says Democratic Party or whatever, right? And I bet you, if you have that sign there, Republicans are probably just not going to come over to you to get registered to vote, right? You don't have to turn anyone away. It's just kind of a natural message you send. But if they walk up and say, I'm a Republican, I'm registered to vote, you got to register to vote. That's where knowing the rules are important, right? Another reason knowing the rules is important, some states you can Xerox the cards and keep all the information and put the data in your database for voter contact later. Other states, it's not legal to do that. So you want to know how you can take advantage of those rules. The thing that Nina talked about.
Just quickly about that rule, that's why you take your phone number aside from that form. And that's how you get around that.
So when she talks about educating people on voter ID and using that as a way to take something that may be a negative and turning it into a positive to help educate people better on voting, that's another good opportunity to tell them about what other rights that they have. For example, a lot of Asian Americans don't know. You have the right to take someone into the voting booth with you to provide you language assistance. A lot of you don't realize that. You can take written materials into the booth with you in another language that are guides. People don't know that. And those are things that can also discourage people from voting. Another thing I hear a lot, I don't want to register to vote because then I will have jury duty. You know what the response to that is? It's a lie. Jury duty lists are pulled from every public database that's available. Right? Registering to vote has no impact on you being called for jury duty. You can just tell people that straight up. Registering to vote has nothing to do with it.
And just say, you know, you support gay marriage and you'll be kicked off the jury anyways. Or you don't support the death penalty, you get your opinion.
Yeah.
You should do your duty.
Okay, so I heard you talking about every time you move, you have to re-register.
Yes.
So from a student standpoint, students often come from different places, but their
Right.
permanent residents are often.
So this
at
is a
their
good thing to
home.
know.
Yeah.
You can register, if college students have the right to register at either, they can only choose one, but you can choose either your college residence or your parents' address. Either one, it's your choice.
So if it's a parent's address and you're not there, you have to do an absentee ballot. That's, again, a time frame, so you have to do it ahead of time. You have to ask for the absentee ballot, and then they're gonna mail you the ballot, and then you're gonna mail it back in. Yeah.
And if you know the districts, that's where you can help them decide. You're like, well, I don't know where I should register to vote. You say, well, where do you live? If they live in a swing district or precinct or congressional district, you might want to encourage them to register and vote back in their home district versus if you need them to vote in the college district.
Also, just,
She had a question.
So what you're saying is that if my mother lives in Matthews and I live out in Concord,
Yeah.
and I still use my mother's residence as a permanent address, then I either go out to that school and vote, or I get an absentee ballot, or.
You can have absentee ballot, request that will be mailed to you when you fill that
So
out and
Christine-
send it in.
Christine has a very important reminder. Several states have changed the laws to make first-time absentee ballot voters much more difficult. So if that's the case, then you want to encourage people to register where they actually are, because then they don't have to mess with the absentee ballot. So if your state is one of those states that's created that difficulty. All right, I think we have a special guest who has just arrived, so I think it's time to go ahead and wrap up our presentation.